Right, I think I am back. My camera died, so I'll probably be a bit quiet. I might have to be a little bit shouty because my camera died, which is my phone, and the microphone is plugged in the same place that the power cord is, and yes, so the audio is a little bit more roomy today. So I'll start again. How are you? How's it going? How's the day going? Are you well? I hope it's going well for you. It's fine if it's not. We're going to do some meditation. This isn't a class, it's just a chance to meditate together. It's part of the further emergence work I do. So I do these meditations on Monday, Wednesday and Friday. Friday and Wednesday we just meditate, but on today I'll explain what I do, just for the benefit of people who are new to meditating. So if you're an experienced meditator, that's brilliant. Can you hang on though for a minute? And if you're curious about further emergence, I'll explain all about that when we're finished the meditation. So there's lots of different types of meditation. This is what I do. For me, it starts with why I would meditate. I'm trying to connect to a part of myself that I connect to every night when I go to sleep. Not the dreaming bit, the bit after dreaming. So I'm sort of dreaming, and then I drop at the bottom of dreaming into deep dreamless sleep, where I have no thoughts, no memories, no feelings, no emotions, no body really, no bed, no bedroom. I don't even have me, because I cease to exist really, certainly in the way that I normally register my existence. So when you add all that up, that sounds awful, doesn't it? It sounds like death. And yet, I love going to sleep. And when I wake up in the morning, I feel refreshed. So some part of me knows that wherever I go, it's good. And that's where I want to go to when I meditate. I just want to do it consciously. So straight away, if you're new to meditation, don't try this lying down, because chances are you'll fall asleep. And if you don't fall asleep, you'll battle sleep, both of which are contrary to what you're trying to do with meditation. So sit up. You don't have to sit up in a lotus position or anything like that. I'm just sitting in a chair. If you're going to sit in a chair, sit don't sit in a big comfortable armchair. You'll just be into the whole sleep thing again. So, as I said, there's no thoughts in this place that I want to go to. My mind can't seem to get there. It's like this place that my mind has to wait outside the door for to get into. So to meditate, I have to make an arrangement with my mind. I have to figure out a way of working with my mind. So what I do is I just make an arrangement with it, where I say, could you just not think for the next 15 minutes, because I want to meditate. And at this stage my mind is on board for the idea. Now, having your mind on board is important, but not so much when you're starting. When you're first meditating, your mind will be on board because it's new, and minds like new things. Having your mind on board only becomes a thing when you're trying to practice, you're trying to meditate regularly. By the 10th time you're meditating, your mind will be bored, and it will be like, I hate meditation. And then that can be a problem. So if you're having trouble with that, leave a question, and I'll try and get to it at the end. But let's just say your mind is on board. That's good. The next thing is to stop thinking. That's actually easier than it sounds, because regardless of what I'm thinking about, which would be the contents of my thoughts, the structure of my thought is always the same. It's always pictures and sound. So if I turn off the pictures and I turn off the sound, that's it, I'm not thinking. And as soon as I do that, I'm into the practice of meditation. Now, the practice of meditation runs parallel with the intention of meditation. So my intention is to go to this deep, still, profound, calm, Zen-like. I'm just trying to think of all the other words that I use to describe meditation. That's my intention. I'm going to go to that place. Practice of meditation runs parallel with it and starts as soon as I stop thinking. And it pretty much goes, I turn off the pictures, I turn off the sound, so I bring myself to not thinking. Then some time will pass and I'll discover I'm thinking again. I go, oh, I'm thinking again. Bring myself back to not thinking, turn off the pictures, turn off the sound, bring myself back. Then some more time will pass and I'll discover I'm thinking again. Oh, I'm thinking again. Turn off the pictures, turn off the sound, bring myself back to not thinking. And some more time will pass, and I'll discover I'm thinking again, and so on. So it's pretty simple. Every time you discover that you're thinking, you just bring yourself back to not thinking. You're doing great. And it's important to know that about thinking, because it's easy to get the misconception that to meditate properly, you shouldn't be thinking at all, which isn't the case. It's kind of, the intention and the practice. These two things go together and they sort of do a little dance. Sometimes you'll be very deep and still. You can feel your body changing. It's brilliant. Other times you'll be discovering that you're thinking. And both are powerful in their own way. It's kind of obviously powerful when you're in this deep, kind of still place. You can feel the changes in your body. It's beautiful. The power is not so obvious straighted, and your mind starts thinking about how much it's thinking. I know that sounds crazy, but that's what happens. And so the power is in, if you're like me, the sort of things you think about are all to do with you, right? So I'll be thinking, what did I do that for? What am I going to do about that thing? Why did I say that to that person? Why did that person say that to me? So on. So let's say I'm meditating and I'm thinking and I'm having those kind of thoughts, and then I go, oh, I'm thinking, turn off the pictures, turn off the sound, bring myself back to not thinking. Indirectly what I'm doing there is I'm saying and demonstrating, that thought that you just had, the one that you thought was you and that you were it, well, you just made it disappear. Gone. So you're obviously not that thought. In fact, you're not any of your thoughts. You're something else. Now, that's pretty powerful. And the fact that you do that repeatedly is powerful too. So don't add to your thinking by starting to think that you're doing it wrong or thinking that you're thinking too much, because there's no right or wrong number of times that you should be bringing yourself back from thinking, because it changes from day to day and hour to hour. You could meditate in the morning and only have to bring yourself back from thinking a couple of times, and then you might meditate in the afternoon and you might have to bring yourself back 100 times. One isn't any better than the other. So the golden rule is, every time you discover that you're thinking, bring yourself back to not thinking, turn off the pictures, turn off the sound. If you do that, you're doing it right. Now, while all that's going on, I'm also becoming a bit more conscious of my body and my breathing. So I scan my body from my head down to my toes and back up again, very slowly, very gently. Anywhere I find tension, I let it go. And I use my out breath to let it go, because it's natural to just, breathe it away. But it's also a really good way of being able to become a bit more conscious of my breathing, because it's really easy to hold your breath in meditation and to stop breathing in meditation. So using the out breath to let go of tension is just a good way of doing that. Then the other thing is, as I'm scanning my body up and down for tension, I'm just spending a little bit more time, a little bit more attention on any structures in my body that go across, any transverse structures in my body. Because transverse structures in my body, they operate a little bit like a log going across a stream. They pick up all the leaves and the twigs and the branches. Anything that's coming down the stream, they'll pick it up. Except in my body, it's not leaves and twigs, it's tension. So I'm spending a little bit more time on my eyes, because they're transverse sight. A little bit more time on my jaw, tongue, base of my neck, shoulder girdle. All my joints are transverse sight, so shoulder, elbow, wrist, fingers, my heart area, my respiratory diaphragm, all my intestines, my pelvic floor, my hips, my knees, my ankles, and my toes. Having a nice quiet room is really helpful if you're just starting out meditation, because one of the things that triggers thoughts is sound. And as soon as you close your eyes to meditate, your hearing amplifies. So a nice quiet room where you're not going to be disturbed that much, that's very helpful. And then the other thing I do to help myself not think, or not have triggered thoughts triggered, is I set a timer for how long I'm going to meditate for. Now I'm going to set my timer for 15 minutes, but if you're new to meditation, like this is your first time, I'd encourage you to set yours for 5 minutes and then just repeat that 3 times, because 15 minutes is a long time if you're not used to it. Okay. Off we go into the mystery. If you feel like you've gone very deeply inside, then take a minute to come back from there before you open your eyes. Or if you feel like you can hold the inner space and the outer space at the same time, you can just open your eyes. And if when you do that you feel like you lose the inner space, then you can just close your eyes again, reconnect with it, open your eyes again. Oh, yeah, no, I lost it, close them again. You can use your eyes like a valve to balance the inner space and the outer space. So as I said at the beginning, these meditations are part of the further emergence work that I do. If you're wondering what further emergence is, it's to do with growth, inner growth, growth in consciousness, growth in awareness. You could call it spiritual growth, that kind of growth. Because your body pretty much stops growing when you become an adult, but you keep growing on the inside. That doesn't change. You only have to think about who you were 5 years ago, 10 years ago. It's kind of obvious how much you change and grow. And just like when you were a kid, you might have gone through periods of accelerated growth. You know, they're called growth spurts. You go through growth spurts on the inside as well, and they keep going for the rest of your life as well. And but they're different. They're harder to deal with on the inside, because if you were a kid and you went to your parents and said, "I've got pains in my legs," and you're going through a growth spurt, "I've got pains in my legs," your parents wouldn't have rushed you to the hospital. They wouldn't have rushed you to the doctor. They would have just said, "Well, it's natural. They'll pass." It's much harder to know that it's natural and it'll pass when you're going through an inner growth spurt and you're, 35, 45, 25, 65. It's much harder to know that it's just natural and it'll pass. It's much easier to sort of feel like, there's something wrong with you, and that you're broken in some way and that you need to be fixed. So further emergence is kind of the overarching thing, is to support growth, and then specifically to support those inner growth spurts where it can be really tricky. So the meditations are part of that support, because the more familiar you are with your inner landscape, the easier it is to deal with these inner growth spurts, these difficult things to navigate. Then there's a retreat every 2 weeks, and that's a chance to meditate more deeply, to take a bit of time away from your life, to come back from it a bit and kind of reflect on how you're going, how you're changing, to help you navigate that whole thing. So that's helpful for whether it's just overall growth or these growth spurts. If you want to go to one of those, you can find the information about all the things I'm talking about now on the website furtheremergence.com. And then I work with people one-to-one as well, and that's because, or how that works, or why that is because the way those inner growth spurts can manifest is very individual. So for some people it can be like crazy physical symptoms. For other people it can be like a lot of emotions. For other people it can be very mental. It can be very disorienting. That's just generally. It can feel like your life doesn't work anymore, or doesn't fit you anymore, or you don't fit in your life. And how it presents itself is very different and individual for each person. So with the one-to-one work, it's a combination of talking, but then I also work behind the scenes, or I work distantly. And I use my years of experience as a craniosacral therapist for that. So it's pretty amazing still to me, even though I do it, regularly, where I can, be here in Ireland and I can work with somebody in California or Australia, and I can do things here that they can feel there. I'm pretty amazed by that. But yeah, it works, and it's pretty powerful. So that's another help. I've written 4 books, all roughly around the subject of further emergence, so they're helpful as well. So if you've listened this far, if you're still with me, even after all the technical hiccups, maybe some part of you is going, yeah, there's something to this. In which case, I'd encourage you to let that part of you tell you what the next thing to do is, whether that's just to do more of the meditations, to watch some of the videos, or listen to the podcast. I forgot to mention that. That are, to get an idea of what the retreats are like, or maybe to come to a retreat, maybe get in touch for some one-to-one work, maybe read a book, maybe do none of those. That part of you will tell you what the right thing for you to do is. Okay, so thanks very much. If you've asked me a question, I'm sorry, my technicals have just got the better of me. I can't see the questions. So, sorry, maybe email me or something like that. If you have asked me a question, I can't see it. So, thanks very much for meditating with me, and see you on Wednesday for some more meditation.